Hey guys, it's MKxJUMP here, and in today's video we're going to be checking out the PvP meta for the E5 Elite Hero endgame in Idle Heroes. So we're going to be looking at a tier list with all the different heroes ranked, and also the recommended stones for them as well since the new stone release. As well, I'd love to give a shout out to Joju who is our latest patron to back me on Patreon, so thank you so much for your support, and if you want to do the same guys, you can find the link to my Patreon down below. Anyway, let's get into today's video and take a look at the rankings for the PvP tier list of November 2019. So let's start things at the top of the PvP tier list. We find, it's no surprise guys, Amun-Ra and Ada. These two heroes are absolute staples in the PvP meta. Amun-Ra's bubbles protect against damage and heal your heroes, which is exceptionally irritating. And then you have Ada, whose completely devastating active skill causes heroes to damage themselves when they use their active skills. It's pretty gross, and both heroes are absolutely fantastic. Of course, you want to build both of them for speed so they can go as quickly as possible, but Amun-Ra is more geared towards speed and HP to stay alive, or speed and precision to stop heroes like Horus getting blocks. And also you have Ada, who's better for speed and HP, or speed attack to maximize her sustain or damage. Looking down at tier 1, we find the heroes that really are shining at the moment, the heroes that you can just break aura for and still succeed really well. You might find it surprising that Belrain falls into this tier, but I honestly believe she is the pinnacle of what a PvP hero should be. What I mean by that is PvP is a very simple process. You have rounds 1 and rounds 2, which are about how fast can you go, can you CC, let's get some burst damage in, let's kill things quickly. Then looking into rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6, that's more about staying alive and sustain. Normally only 3 or 4 heroes are left, and that's exactly why Belrain is fantastic, because Belrain's active skill boosts the speed of your team, she removes CC from heroes thanks to her buff, which is absolutely incredible, and then when she dies, which will probably happen in around round 3, round 4, she then heals your team to keep them sustained and alive in the later rounds of PvP. It's just perfect, it's exactly what you should want from a PvP support hero, and I couldn't ask for anything better. Now, we've also got Horus, who has been performing incredibly with his update. Basically, he takes 3 blocks, attacks back, 3 blocks, attacks back, and Horus is so strong. He not only removes CC from himself after 3 blocks, he can attack through Amun-Ra's bubbles, which is absolutely nuts. Like, Horus is such a great hero at the moment. Whether you're running him in Rainbow Aura, or you don't even have an Aura at all, he's just fantastic. Same goes for Cthugha. His completely devastating damage over time is what makes him shine. He just eats through Amun-Ra bubbles, he eats through Unbending Will bubbles, he just sits there and he takes it. Like, if he gets CC'd, he's going to sit there, do nothing, not use his active skill and burst away his dots. He's just going to let his damage over time eat away at the opponents, and that's the kind of stuff that really counts right now. The damage over time, if you stack enough of that up, it's just going to devastate heroes at the end of rounds. It doesn't matter whether they've got Unbending Will or Amun-Ra bubbles up, they just eat through it and do not care. Next, we've got Garuda, who since her release has been turning heads. She is absolutely incredible. You can either build her with attack, holy damage attack to maximize her damage, or you can build her with crit attack to maximize her burst. Either way, she's absolutely brilliant, and I would recommend trying either one out and seeing her performance. She's just such a great hero right now. And if you look across, we now have the triple Oberon lineup, which is no doubt familiar to a lot of you. Basically what you do is you run multiple Oberons as they twine, they buff each other, not just the single one that releases a lot of damage over time, and it can just eat away and be really devastating, because not only does Oberon heal himself, he damages you, which is just nasty, which means every time someone is twined, he punishes you and rewards himself. It's kind of disgusting that a hero can be so synergized around a CC. Ugh, I hate it, and it's good for a reason. Like, the team is very, very difficult. If you're running triple Oberon with Amun-Ra and Ada, you can throw in anything else there, like a Garuda or a Cthugha or a Horus, just someone else just to help sponge extra damage, and it's just incredible to see in action. Like, definitely a great team right now. Would recommend that people try it out if you can. I understand that 3 Oberons at E5 is very difficult to build, but it works, and it really works. Next, we've got Double Mim, which is back, thank you to DH Games for fixing, well, I say fixing, more nerfing Unbending Will, so that basically it takes 4 hits of damage and the shield goes. It's not just immune for the entire round, which is awesome, which means that Mim can be back on the radar and he can deal the incredible damage over time that we know him for, combine him with a second copy of himself, and then the two of them are just devastating enemies. Basically what they do is when a hero dies, they deal damage to the opponent, and that damage continues for the next 3 rounds. That makes Mim an absolute powerhouse when you can wipe away heroes, because they get punished for dying. Basically, it causes a domino effect, which is just absolutely nuts. It's incredible with 2 copies of Mim, and as you can see in tier 1.5, Mim sits there as well, so it works well when he's on his own as well, so it's really nice. As well, Mim has some energy steal, which can also disrupt the tempo of opponents, and yeah, he's just all in all a fantastic hero. Stepping down to tier 1.5, we have Dark Arthendal, who is an absolute truck when it comes to CC. She hits all opponents with her active skill and petrifies, and her basic attack petrifies the hero in slot 1. She's just absolutely great right now. Unfortunately, there are a lot of heroes that eat away at CC. For example, Belrain removes it. Horus also removes it after 3 blocks. We've got Gustin as well in this tier, who is known for CC removal. So CC is not as great as it used to be, but Dark Arthendal is still up there with the best of them. As well, her crit attack is certainly a fantastic stone that deals a lot of burst damage, but if you feel like she needs to be a little bit quicker, Speed Crit is a new stone that's come out, which is absolutely awesome, and I would recommend that for most Dark Arthendal builds. Next, we've got Mim, who we have decided to build with Attack, Holy, and Attack, because Attack isn't actually as strong as Attack, Holy, Damage, Attack. It gives more damage, basically. So if you're needing a hero just to do more damage, you run Attack, Holy, Damage, Attack. If you need them literally for Attack because they have a cap, or they have healing, such as Cthulhu with his cap, or healing such as Belrain, Attack is arguably better there. But when you're just after sheer power, Attack, Holy, Damage, Attack is the better stone. Also, I've recommended Attack HP, because that offers 33% of HP, which gives him really nice tankiness, but as well, it gives 26% attack, which is really nice. And you can also argue that it's worth running the Holy Damage stone, but that gives 36% Holy Damage, which actually, when mathed out, is about 25.5%, 26% of normal attack, so it's kind of negligible. I'd rather just run the stone that gives more HP rather than the stone that gives less. So I recommend Attack HP for that reason. Moving across, we have Asmodal, who has recommended similar stones, and his goal is to give critical marks to the opponents, and then when another hero on your team crits, or himself, that will explode and deal damage to the opponents. Lots of people think that you should run him for crit attack so that you can get the most out of his crit, but I actually prefer to run him for an attack build because that makes his marks deal more damage, and his marks are what makes him good. They eat through Unbending Will Shields, completely ignoring it, and deal a lot of nice damage. So it doesn't matter if he's CC'd, he's still going to deliver these because he deals them when he's dealt damage too. Next, we've got Gustin, who's a really interesting hero. I really like him, and since his release, he's been pretty great. Basically, he can remove CC, he can remove debuffs, he can buff your team, he can remove buffs from the opponent, and he heals, and he also deals all the damage he takes in return to the hero that dealt it to him. It's incredible. Like, Gustin does so much. I kind of feel like maybe I should move him a little bit higher, but right now I think tier 1.5 is the definite best pick for him, but you can still break aura and run him. He's really fun to use, and I like that some endgame teams have taken to running him. It's nice to see. Next, we've got Penny, whose burst is, well, it should be familiar with you. She's been around a while now, since Anniversary, and Penny's crit attack stone build is devastatingly strong, deals a lot of burst damage. The crit damage is way up there at 55% now, which is just nuts, and basically, she's an absolute powerhouse. You should definitely run her, and she's great fun. Unfortunately, Amun-Ra does stonewall her right now, because thanks to the speed skin now for Amun-Ra, it makes it difficult for Pennies to outspeed Amun-Ra's, and just Amun-Ra really counters Penny quite nastily, so that's why she's not making it into tier 1, but apart from that, she's a great hero. Basically, against teams that don't have Amun-Ra, Penny will wreck them, absolutely wreck them. I get scared sometimes when I'm not using my Amun-Ra, because quite frankly, Penny's a brilliant hero, and you should run her either for crit attack if you want to deal the most burst, or speed crit if you want her to outspeed heroes and deal as much burst as she can. Finally, on tier 1.5, we have Cruz, which is a great hero to just splash in there if you just need a final hero in your team. Run him at 9-star, 10-star, it doesn't matter. Basically, what makes him special is his final passive. When he's dropped below half of his health, he stuns the opponents, which is just great. It disrupts the opponent's plays, it's fantastic tempo and control, and he also supports your team at 10-star or above by giving energy to your team, which increases your team's tempo whilst reducing your opponents because he stuns them. It's just a very nice tempo shifting hero that definitely works in the favour of some teams. Stepping down to tier 2, we find the heroes that don't quite make it into the top tier and are normally just used to complete the aura on your team. We have Aspen, who's a great finisher for good versus evil. We have Ormus, who's a great hero for redemption and rainbow. We have Emily as well, who's seen more play in rainbow teams recently, and that's basically because Penny gets walled by Amun-Ra, but Emily is capable of buffing and supporting your team. She buffs up your speed, and she increases your attack, which is really handy. If we look at Aspen, since his rework, he's been a little lackluster for PvP compared to what he used to be, and he was never up there with Dark Arthendal and Mim anyway. I do like him and I feel like he has a place on a lot of teams, but I feel he's not as strong as Dark Arthendal and Mim, which is the big reason he's only in tier 2, not tier 1.5, and some teams will avoid using him, some good versus evil teams will not be comfortable using him, but he's an okay hero, and Horrify is certainly decent, but he's not as good as he could be at the moment, and if he does a massive burst and he hits Amun-Ra bubbles, that can be really irritating, and he's just a bit funny at the moment. He's great, and he can finish, and when he finishes, he's nuts. And against a team that doesn't have Amun-Ra, Aspen is incredible. He's like Penny, basically. If your opponent doesn't have Amun-Ra, Aspen will deliver. But if they do, it becomes a little more difficult. And because they've changed his basic attack to hit one hero, not three, he doesn't handle Amun-Ra bubbles as well as he used to either, which makes it even more difficult for him. Ormus, as always, is a fantastic hero with attack or attack HP and heal. That's the new stone that increases the healing effect of his abilities. He just basically is a powerhouse. You have to watch out. There are two kinds of heal stone. There's effect of being healed, which improves the healing on that hero, or heal effect, which improves the healing of their healing abilities. So watch out that you don't give the wrong one to Ormus. But either way, once he delivers his rescue marks, he can heal up your team, keep them alive, and his healing is fundamental in redemption auras. He can be really helpful to stay alive in rainbow auras, and teams that don't even want to run an aura could potentially consider using him, but it's a lot less likely that you will. Next, we've got Nakia. She's interesting. I don't know where I feel about Nakia, because annoyingly, what makes her good is her speed, but if you build her towards speed, you're gimping out on her damage, which is also what makes her really good. So I feel like she's in a really awkward position where you either have to choose to go all out for crit attack, or you go all out for speed. It's hard to choose between the two because she can deal a slowing effect against opponents, which is really nice, and you want her to be quick so she can get that out. However, crit attack deals a lot of burst damage and can be really handy and increase the amount of damage over time she does, because when she crits, she does further bleed. So it's hard, Nakia. Nakia is a hero that you want to build in one of two ways, and I think speed crit is a nice middle ground, but crit attack is good if you just want to go for all-out burst. She isn't up there with the best heroes in the game like Asmodal, Penny, Garuda, Cthulhu, but she's still a good hero to run and a good finisher for a rainbow aura if you're looking for it. So I think she's nice, but she's not the best. She's only tier 2. And again, we have Oberon, who on his own is kind of lackluster. You kind of want to build him for CC at that point. And then we have Valkyrie, who is the classic hero that's gone from being the best hero in the game to just slowly dropping more and more. And I find at the moment she's not really shining as much as she could. And it's kind of disappointing, really. Her damage isn't what it used to be. And the HP stone buff that's come out is nice, but it's not helping drastically to improve her damage. And just quite frankly, since the release of Garuda, it's difficult to justify running Valkyrie on your team. If you have a copy of Garuda, Valkyrie is kind of irrelevant. So it's a bit of a shame, but how the mighty have fallen. Anyway, stepping down to tier 3, we have Amavor, who, even since his rework, I don't really like too much. He's bursty, he doesn't have any damage over time, he gets stonewalled by bubbles and shields, and it's just not that great. We've got Faithblade, same story, apart from he can stun, but then stun is the weakest of the CCs, so he's okay, he's not brilliant. Like, all these heroes here in tier 3 have a fundamental flaw, really, and it's kind of a shame. Like, Jara needs Ice and Petrify synergy, and it's difficult to get Ice synergy and Petrify synergy. You'd rather just run Dark Arthendal anyway, so, yeah, difficult to justify. Valentino, he has great stun, but he's not terribly, he's not terribly fast. It's awkward, because stun can be, immune to rather easily, and CC isn't as good as it used to be because Gustin and Belrain exist. And so does the Purify enable as well, which makes it even more difficult for heroes like Valentino to compete. We have Flamestrike, who only really works well alongside Cthulhu, and that's more of a token towards Cthulhu than a merit towards Flamestrike. We've got King Barton, who really hasn't shined since the release of E3. We've got Scary, who's interesting here. This is the 3 Scary combo, and a lot of you might be surprised to see Scary down here in tier 3, but Barry Gaming, who is kind of the voice on whether Scary is any good, just said, look, no, it's not even worth meriting him to be in tier 2. Multiple Scaries are tier 3 at best. It's a fun combo, but it loses to CC, and it's kind of hard to justify. It's slow, it's clunky, it gets walled by Amun-Ra's, and it's a very weird combo. It can sometimes deliver well, but it's not. It takes a while to get going, and I think that's its big flaw at the moment. We've got Vesa here as well, finally at tier 3, and she can be built in 2 ways. Attack if you need to maximise your heal, or crit attack if you want to maximise your burst. She's just okay, she's just a good healer, she's got good tempo. When she gets knocked below 50%, she'll silence opponents, which is pretty nice, but it's not as strong as Cruce's stun, but it still does the job, and it helps, but it doesn't make her an absolutely fantastic hero worth running, but she's okay, she's alright, but nothing special. She's also incredibly slow, which doesn't really help. Stepping down now to tier 4, we find the heroes that really struggle to make it into the PvP teams. We've got Michelle, who's really dropped recently. She just deals lackluster CC, and she doesn't really give that much of a good heal. And there are just so many heroes out there that do it better. She's just not the best control or support hero at the moment, and the only thing she's got going for her is the fact that she resurrects on death, but normally she comes back to life and everybody else is dead, and she's just doing nothing on her own, so she doesn't really bring much to the fight. We have Aiden, who used to be awesome, but since the release of Amun-Ra and we've got the Unbending Will bubbles, it kind of becomes difficult to use him. I mean, cheese teams can still potentially work well, but it's difficult to justify. We've got Shia, and Shia, since her rework, she's been okay. She deals a lot of little chip damage, which is helpful to remove Unbending Will or Amun-Ra bubbles. But it's not great. She's just okay. She's just a typical block hero, and I'd much rather run Horus if I wanted a hero in slot 1. We have now Normal Scary, and Normal Scary on its own is just poor. Not fantastic. Just doesn't have the burst that multiple Scaries do, and even then, multiple Scaries aren't that great. We've got Starlight, who relies on your heroes dying to do well, which is never a good way to synergize. And finally, we have Rosa, who is an okay support hero. A little bit of an attack boost, but nothing that makes you rather run him over a different hero. I'd rather just have another hero than boost the attack of some of the heroes I have, and the main boost you want to give heroes at the moment is like either complete damage protection, like Amun-Ra can do, or you'd just rather have something that gives a speed boost, like Emily can, or like Belrain can, so it kind of becomes awkward to run Rosa in PvP. Next we have tier 5, and you guys can see it's getting worse and worse. We have Dasmog, who is just a bad hero. He's never really synergized well with PvP. He takes too long to get ready, and it kind of becomes a shortfall. You want to deal burst damage really quickly, but he relies on getting buffs, and that's just a bad synergy. He can also lose out to CC. He's not tremendously quick, and he's just not a great hero. We have Bloodblade, same issue. He's just damage over timey, bursty, sustainy, a bit of everything. Jack of all trades, master of none, and kind of just gets stonewalled by CC. Corpse Demon, good CC, great tank, doesn't deliver any damage whatsoever. We have Kamath, whose CC is okay, but it only hits the backline, so he's easy to play around. We've got Sigmund, who really doesn't actually deal that much damage in PvP. He strips away armor, but heroes don't really have that much armor, and there's other ways to play around armor in PvP, so nah, Sigmund's not worth running. I'd rather just have Cthulhu if I needed a lot of burn. We've got Berea, who takes too long to charge up. His end of round boost is not that great because it takes too long to charge. And then we've got Queen, who, again, same story. She's okay for removing crit, but she takes too long to get her boosts in, and she's an okay hero. She's probably the better of the tier 5 heroes, but still, she's rubbish. And finally, we have Gru, who I hate and wish I could put in tier X, but I have to admit, the only good thing going for Gru is when he gets hit, he reduces the opponent's attack, and he reduces their crit, which is okay, but we're not really in that much of a bursty meta, so it's not fantastic, but I know there are some people that really like Gru. I'm looking at you, Prometheus, but yeah, there are some interesting uses for Gru, but I'm not a big fan of Gru at all. And finally, we have tier X, which is just just don't use these in PvP. Bade, he relies on RNG. Anything that says roll a dice and you might do okay, not worth running. Like, I mean, you could get that amazing burst damage against one single target, but it's really not that great. And then we have Heartwatcher, who increases the damage of heroes very slowly. And she works well in PvE because basically you want to get to round 15 and deal as much damage as you can, but in PvP, she takes too long to get her buffs off, and she's basically dead before she's done anything useful. So again, no, don't use Heartwatcher. So there you go, guys. I hope that didn't come as any surprise to a lot of you. The list is pretty standard. It's as expected, really. You've got Amun-Ra and Ada up top. You've got the brilliant heroes like Horus and Cthulhu, Garuda all near there as well, and it just progressively gets worse as you go down. It's exactly what a tier list should be. If you have any questions or any disagreements, I'd love to hear your comments down below. I know there's going to be a few heroes that you might go, wait, hang on a second, that's a bit too low, or that one might be a bit too high, and if that's your thoughts and opinions, I'd love to hear it. No doubt some of you might hate my choice of putting Belrain in tier 1, but I'm going to stick by it. So, there you go. And yeah, as I said at the beginning, if you want to back me on Patreon, if you like this content, you can find my link down below, or feel free to just like and subscribe and just support me on YouTube. So thank you, guys. You can also tune in to my Twitch streams at twitch.tv/MKxJUMP on Thursday evenings at 23:30 GMT, so come join for some Idle Heroes discussions and checking out the new events. But there you go, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to see some more content, you can find it on the side of the screen here. And as always, guys, have a great week and happy idling.